So I wanted to just share my appreciation to you, and I'm sure that many people here do as well, but you've been one of our community's biggest champions alongside Minister Kerzner and other politicians, so thank you so much for that. We'd love to ask you about your role. You know, you were the Minister of Education, fighting the good fight for Ontario children, including Jewish children, and now you continue that fight forward in a different role. So can you share the impact of that has had on you as an amazing ally for our community and your outlook?
Sure. Well, first off, if I wasn't promoted and sort of was given the opportunity to leave the Ministry of Education, I was going to use the storylife.ai to write my political obituary. Because what have I done wrong to Doug Ford to be in the Education Ministry for 5 long years? But the truth is, and you know this, Dan, I'm very grateful, and I feel like the ultimate startup in the Jewish community is Yalla. I mean, talk about disrupting a space that had strong hegemonic forces, and you've been an amazing technology partner in advocacy space, so congrats to your team. They are worthy of recognition because this is not something that's done often. But I would say, you know, working with Minister Kerzner and other allies in cabinet, I think what we've understood is that this is not an issue of supporting one community to the exclusion of others. This is fundamentally about the defense of democratic values in our country and the type of Canada we want to leave for our children. And my parents are, look, my parents are Italian immigrants. My father came through El Salle and my mother through Pier 21. We were raised to respect people. Fundamentally, civility was our greatest currency as Canadians up until, really October 7th. And so I think in the Ministry of Education, the biggest thing we did, fundamentally, if we accept the premise that education is one of the greatest weapons against division, well, what we did is we mandated in every classroom, elementary and in high school, that every child, irrespective of their faith and heritage and where they came from in the world, that they will learn about the Holocaust education. We did that in elementary school, grade 6, and then we expanded it again in grade 10 with different emphasis. The first was to speak about the horrors of what took place so people truly understand genocide. And in the later years, to speak about the rise of denialism, which we saw take place after October 7th. And these are fundamental elements of building a strong civil society in a country that it really respects and safeguards democratic values. We also told school boards that they cannot institute a Nakba Day. They can't have a day to, they can have a day where we, have sorrow for the creation of a democratic state. That is not an act of inclusivity. That's an act of politics, and we want that out of classrooms in the province of Ontario. And also, we mandated education training from the Jewish community into educators, because what we often saw was there were certain, I'm not sure the right verbiage, so I'm just going to say it, but maybe less than helpful segments of the Jewish community, or I think what you would have said, where they were doing training under the guise of being allies of the Jewish cause, but they actually weren't allies of the Jewish cause. They were being sort of engineered by school boards to really take out these minority voices instead of listening to the absolute majority of Jews and Canadians that want.
Maybe co-opted is the word.
Co-opted, yeah, we'll go with co-opted. It's a gentle way of describing it. And so my point, colleagues, is that we stood up for what's right. And I think the moral courage is what we need in the province. We're seeing the great acts of hate manifest around the world. And I think in Canada, we will need change and we will need leadership again, particularly when it comes to the enforcement of the rule of law. I see how hard are my colleagues, Jill Dunlop in education, Michael Kerzner in the Solicitor General's office, the Attorney General of Ontario. Like, many of these people care deeply about safeguarding our kids, and I'm just very proud to be a part of the team. And I want you to know, while I may be in happier pastures now in the Ministry of Energy, I'm sure you can tell I seem much more effervescent, much more happy. But the truth is that I'm committed to this cause, and I will be for as long as I'm in public service. And I will say Michael Kerzner has been an absolute friend and champion and a true leader in our cabinet standing up for the Jewish cause, and I'm grateful to serve with him.
Thank you again for being such an incredible friend and ally to our community. And I want to talk about your new role, which must be really exciting, a lot less stressful. You're smiling now. It's really nice to see. But tell us a bit about that. Tell us about your day-to-day and what your vision for Ontario's future is in terms of, energy improvement, EVs. There's a lot to cover. We don't have much time. We'd love to hear about it.
So Ontario will need 75% more power by 2050. We're going to need to add 4.5 cities of Toronto to the grid So we don't think about this enough as a country. It's one of the bigger challenges facing most democracies, most industrialized economies. We have a plan to build. I mean, I'm so grateful that the Premier has given me this assignment, because what it really is a ministry that's looking for tomorrow. And for the first time in a long time, we have a government that is seized by thinking through a generational lens, ending the short-sighted, disjointed, sort of four-year political calculus of most decision-making was made on these electoral timelines. We're actually building an energy plan for 25 years, a multi-generational lens so that it is a clean energy grid. We have one of the cleanest energy grids on earth, but it remains affordable and reliable. And we are attracting $47 billion just in the auto sector alone, not in spite of, but because of our clean energy advantage. And so our intention is to use non-emitting nuclear energy as the fundamental baseload solution to our challenges. And we know it is. I appreciate that. And look, most people in Ontario are supportive of this aim. They understand if you want to reduce emissions and you want to grow our economy, there's very few interventions beyond nuclear. We have hydroelectric, we're proud of that. We've largely tapped out of that. So we have to be honest about the options. And so we're pursuing that. We've also launched the largest competitive energy procurement where renewables and other forms of energy will play a role. Our position is to be technology agnostic, not to procure sole source, as former governments did, at 80 cents a kilowatt hour. Renewable energy, when there was alternatives at 10 cents a kilowatt hour, and you all pay the price. We pay the price as Ontarians. So our government is taking a different approach. We're not ideological. We are rooted in pragmatism and competitiveness. And look, when our number one trading partner in the US, we know the President-elect Trump is coming to office, and his number one aim will be to repatriate jobs and create a competitive advantage for his economy. So we have to be thoughtful and strategic about making sure we retain industry, retain jobs, and give hope to young people in the province of Ontario.
It's all well deserved. I'm going to let them finish. But thank you again for being here with us today. Thank you for your advocacy and support of our program. We look forward to welcoming you back soon. Thank you so much, Minister.